Hey film fans, welcome to CinePro, your ultimate hub for all movie recaps. From heartwarming classics to the latest blockbusters, the film begins 3 years after the global disaster in which strange monsters appeared on Earth and began attacking and killing humans. In cities where all the humans died, these monsters were called the Reapers. The reasons are unknown. The Reapers cannot go to the mountains and high altitudes. Specifically, they cannot exceed an elevation of 8,000 feet. The humans who managed to survive were already living far from the Reapers, or were able to escape from them quickly. They marked lines on the ground to know not to cross so they wouldn't be in danger. We meet a young boy named Hunter who reaches a mountain called Rocky. This mountain was 7,740 feet above ground level, meaning it was a danger zone and 260 feet below the line. Hunter was exploring the underground and observing the surrounding areas when he saw children playing far away. Then he heard the sound of monsters, got worried, and decided to return to the mountain peak. Hunter heard the sounds getting closer, and indeed a Reaper monster was chasing him. Hunter heard the monsters roar and successfully crossed the line safely, and the monster couldn't cross the line and retreated. Hunter was panting from fear. We see that there are now houses and people living at the top of the mountain, and they named this village Lost. About 193 people lived there. Hunter returns to his father, Will, who notices his son's anxiety and asks him what's wrong. Hunter admits he crossed the line and tells him he just wanted to see the people living in the other mountains. It's also said that the monsters are currently somewhat dormant. Will sees that his son acted recklessly but speaks to him calmly, acknowledging his mistake and asks him not to do it again. Later, Will goes hunting with his partner, Katie, and they manage to hunt a deer. While carrying the deer, Katie asks him about Hunter, and he tells her about Hunter crossing the line, saying Hunter was looking at the Red Rock village because there are children his age there. Katie understands and tells Will it's natural for Hunter to do that because he's the only child in the village of Lost. The priority is safety and staying well, but many people can't adapt to the isolation we're in. But Will suspected that Hunter wanted to see the place where he last saw his mother. We then meet Will's neighbor, Nina, a physicist who always shoots at this thing because it's part of the monster and defends itself with it. She is experimenting on it to discover the monster's weak point, always conducting experiments with weapon ammunition. One morning, Will remembers his old memories with his wife, Tara. We learn that Tara once went down with Nina and crossed the line, and since then, Tara hasn't returned, leaving Will to live alone and raise Hunter. Raising Hunter was difficult for Will alone because Hunter has a serious illness that makes him unable to breathe well and needs a specific device and oxygen tubes to get through this crisis. Will changes the tube, but the problem is, it's the last oxygen tube they have. So Will considers going to a city called Boulder to get oxygen tubes from there. The next day, Will teaches his son farming and hunting so he can rely on himself and get food. That day was Hunter's birthday, and since Will didn't have money, he bartered for a meal of pasta with cheese and brought it back to Hunter, who was very happy with the meal and asked his father to turn on the radio. But Will refuses and tells him they can't waste electricity in the winter because electricity is scarce, and he relies on solar power. Later, Will and Katie sit together, and Katie asks him what he would be doing now if they were living their normal lives. Will tells her he would be watching hockey games with Tara's father, even though he didn't like watching sports, but he misses going out and socializing with them. At night, Hunter becomes ill and needs another oxygen tube, so Will has to give him an injection that will keep his oxygen level stable for 5 days. He decides to go on a journey to get the tubes from a hospital in Boulder City. He goes to Nina and asks her to come with him because she is the only one who survived monster attacks and has done many experiments and research on them. She is suitable for this journey. We learn from their conversation that Nina once took Tara, Will's wife, and crossed the line because Nina wanted to go to her lab. And that's why Will hates Nina very much, because his wife died because of her. But despite that, he asks her to come with him to Boulder City because of her expertise, and she tells him she didn't expect to go there. The road to Boulder is dangerous and full of monsters, and Will tells her he knows a safe route. Nina tells him she knows the maps well and tells him there is no safe route. All the roads leading there must stay below the line. And she is sure because her lab is in Boulder City. Will tells her he has to go there because Hunter will die without the oxygen tubes, and Nina refuses to come with him, saying she doesn't want to risk her life and die. She was just lucky once and survived the monsters. Will tells her because of her, his wife died, so she must come with him to repay her debt. And he knows a way in the mountains that will allow them to cross the line only twice. He knows she wants to go down to try to kill the monsters. Nina tells him not to forget that Boulder City is 2,000 feet below the line, So if they reach there safely, they will find the monsters waiting for them, and one monster is enough to kill them. Will tells her he knows all that, but he has no other choice and leaves her and walks away. Nina sits alone, remembering when the monsters attacked her and Tara, and eventually decides to join Will. Will asks a neighbor to stay with Hunter while he's away. He goes to get weapons from a friend named Tim and takes ammunition that can slow down the monsters. Katie meets Will and tells him why he didn't tell her he was going on such a journey. She says she's not leaving him and is coming with him. Tim, give me weapons too. Will asks her not to come with him because the journey is dangerous, but Katie refuses and tells him he needs someone to protect him. She can't stand living there anymore and wants to go down a bit. Will insists she doesn't come, but she refuses. And Nina doesn't want Katie to come with them either, telling her she's never encountered a monster before and doesn't know the danger of the journey they're embarking on. She's never seen a monster tear apart a human before, never seen bullets fired at them with no effect, and even if you shoot the monster in the face, it will kill you. Nina tries in every way to scare her so she won't come, but Katie doesn't care. Her words kept repeating, while Will was saying goodbye to his son, promising to return for him. The three of them then set off on their journey. Nina had brought a special compass that could detect if a monster was nearby. When they arrived at the line, she tried to activate the compass, and it indicated that there were no monsters nearby. On their way, they found a military vehicle, and Will searched it for ammunition or anything useful. Katie managed to find something useful to attach to her weapon, as she had a decent knowledge of firearms. Meanwhile, Nina was searching for traces of the monsters. Nina told Katie that she was unnecessary with them, and that she only decided to come because she was attracted to someone. Katie got angry and pushed her, and they started fighting until Will intervened. Nina didn't care about her and continued on her way. As they advanced a bit, they heard sounds around them, which turned out to be the sounds of horses. They were surprised by where the horses came from and continued to a ski area called Vista, which was at an altitude of 7,620 feet. They were close to reaching the 8,000-foot mark when suddenly the compass alerted Nina that a monster was nearby. Indeed, Nina saw it from a distance and noticed the trees moving, with a beam of light emanating from the monster. They were very scared, and Will suggested they run quickly and cross the line, but Nina saw that they wouldn't make it in time and went to ride the cable car to reach the line faster. Katie didn't trust this plan and went in a different direction. However, Will trusted Nina's plan and went to operate the cable car. Nina stayed below to save Will some time, and the monster began to appear. Katie got scared and threw a projectile at it from afar, but it didn't affect it, and it started running towards them. Will successfully operated the cable car, and he and Nina boarded it. Katie realized she wouldn't make it across the line in time, so she climbed the pole to join them. Meanwhile, Nina fired at the monster, which tried to cut the cable car wires. Katie jumped to join them, and Will caught her just before she fell. The monster was getting closer, but they managed to cross the 8,000-foot mark. By bad luck, the cable snapped, and they all fell beyond the line. They quickly ran to cross the line and succeeded at the last moment, and the monster left. Afterward, they found a house at an altitude of 8,200 feet, and rested there for the night. Katie asked how they could get rid of the monsters. Nina explained that the monsters appeared all at once worldwide, so they didn't have time to study them and figure out how to kill them. The problem was that they killed 95% of the Earth's population in 1 month, as if their goal was solely to kill humans. Nina wished for answers to her questions. At night, when Nina and Katie slept, Will remembered arguing with his wife about going down with Nina on her journey beyond the line. He was trying to explain that it was dangerous, and Nina just wanted to find a solution to make her name remembered and gain fame. But Tara was confident that Nina had a solution to defeat the monsters. She told Will that the oxygen tubes for Hunter would run out in a year, so what difference would it make if she went down now or in a year? Will told her the difference was that she would live with him for a year, and that was the difference. The next morning, they continued their journey and reached the mine in the mountains. Will told them the plan was as follows. They would walk through the tunnel until they reached the other side, which would be a safe place at an altitude of 8,023 feet and 12 miles away from Boulder City. When they entered the tunnel, they would descend from the 9th floor to the 8th floor. They had to be cautious because anything below the 8th floor would be dangerous. Nina asked how he was sure the other side was at an altitude of 8,023 feet. as the tunnel might have bends leading behind the line. Will didn't respond, so Nina realized Will was deceiving them and that the tunnel wasn't safe. They would go below the line and asked how far they would be from the line. Will told her about 231 feet. Nina told him he should have informed them of the danger before leaving the village. Will told her the compass she had would help them. Nina was surprised and told him that wouldn't happen because the compass didn't work underground. It only worked above ground. The other problem was that the monsters could see in the dark and followed the carbon dioxide emitted by humans, and they were much faster than them. Nina hesitated to enter the tunnel, but Will told her they would enter the tunnel for just 45 seconds. Nina had no other solution because they had traveled a long distance, so they entered the tunnel, turned on the flashlights, and were shocked to find a closed door blocking the way, welded shut. They were forced to go down to the 7th floor, which was behind the line, and had to walk there for 900 meters. Of course, Nina and Katie were scared, and Will told them they either had to go down or return from where they came, and he wasn't going back. They agreed that when they went down, they wouldn't run to avoid making noise and alerting the monsters. Running would also tire them out and cause them to emit more carbon dioxide, increasing the chances of the monsters sensing them. The plan was to move quietly, then descend the stairs to the 7th floor. After advancing a bit, they heard a noise behind them, so they slowed down and looked to see the source of the sound. It turned out that there was a monster behind them, so they didn't think much and started running. Katie threw a grenade at it to slow it down, and they continued running, dodging past this obstacle. The grenade delayed the monster for a while, and they were forced to enter a small opening in the wall to hide. They turned off the lights and held their breath as much as possible to avoid releasing carbon dioxide. The monster entered the tunnel with its tail sensing the air, and they all held their breath with difficulty. Then Will swallowed a flare to distract the monster so they could breathe a little. They found a small exit and went through it, with Katie being the first to reach the other side. But unfortunately for her, a monster was waiting and killed her, dragging her body away. Will was devastated with grief over her. Afterward, they noticed a ladder, so they climbed it to reach the 8th floor, and the sounds behind them began to fade. Finally, they found an exit and emerged from the tunnel. Nina was crying over Katie, wishing to avenge the monsters. They continued on their way and found a house and a car in front of them. They broke into the house to spend the night there. Will found a family eating macaroni and cheese and sat down to eat with Nina. She told him she loved Tara very much and had started to love Katie, but unfortunately, her fate was to die. Will said he was wrong and shouldn't have taken them on such a journey. He wished they had climbed the mountains without equipment. Nina told him regret wouldn't help, and he should keep the feeling of anger inside to seek revenge. Will asked her what was in her laboratory. Nina explained that the laboratory contained magnesium cubes. She informed him that the monster's skin was impenetrable, possibly due to being charged with electrical energy. If her theory was correct, any bomb or projectile coated with magnesium oxide would be effective. The monsters hurt them, and Will really likes that because it gives hope. The next day, they get in the car and cross the line, speeding towards Boulder City, which was completely quarantined. They enter the hospital to get the tubes, but Will can't find them, wasting a lot of time searching. When Will finally finds the tubes, Nina urges him to hurry because the monsters are getting closer. Will fills his bag with the tubes, and they run quickly. Suddenly, a monster attacks them from behind a wall with its claws, blocking their path, forcing them to go upstairs. The monster extends its arm from behind, but they manage to evade it. Nina finds an axe and hits the monster with all her strength, freeing Will, and they escape. Nina fills the place with smoke, and they run to another room. They were trapped, and the monster's ray appears amidst the smoke, which lasts for a few seconds and then disappears. Suddenly, the monster appears and charges at them quickly. Will shoots the oxygen tubes, causing a massive explosion. The fire knocks the monster out of the window, and they are both surprised that the monster is dead. As they leave the hospital, Nina tells him her lab is nearby and wants to go there. But Will doesn't want to risk his life further, especially since he got the oxygen tubes and wants to return to Hunter as soon as possible. Nina tells him the tubes will last Hunter for a year, and he will have to repeat the same adventure to get more tubes until the time comes when there are no tubes left. But if there's hope and she can create a weapon to kill these monsters, the whole world will join them to fight the monsters. Will is convinced by her words and accompanies her to the lab. They get in the car and move. While back at the hospital, the dead monster starts to wake up again. They reach the lab, which was at an altitude of 5,867 feet, and Nina tells him she only needs 5 minutes. The compass doesn't indicate any nearby monsters, but Will stands by the window to take precautions and sees a picture of Nina on the desk, realizing she had a husband and family. Nina tries to keep it together when Will talks about her family, but when she sees the picture, she breaks down and cries, telling him she's the only survivor from her family because when the monsters appeared, she was in the lab, but her family was watching a soccer match. What bothers her more is that she didn't get to say goodbye. She tells Will she understands how he felt when he lost Tara and apologizes for risking Tara's life. Will tells her he no longer blames her for what happened to his wife. Nina takes out the magnesium oxide compound she needed, applies it to the bullet, and shoots it at the part the monster defends itself with. Unfortunately, the experiment fails, but she doesn't give up and wants to continue her experiments. She asks Will to leave while she continues alone. Will doesn't want to leave her alone, but Nina insists, determined to stay. She tells him she won't leave until she succeeds, or the monsters kill her. Her car is still in the garage here, so if she succeeds, she can return to the village later. Will couldn't convince her to come with him, and at the same time, he doesn't want to stay behind the line for long and wants to return to Hunter. He takes the car and leaves quickly. Nina tries again and shoots a bullet, but it's useless. She doesn't notice the compass moving, but hears the monster approaching, deciding to shoot the third bullet at it. Meanwhile, Will's tire bursts, and his car flips over. He regains consciousness later, unharmed, but hears the monster approaching. He gathers his things and runs into the forest. The monster gets closer and chases him, but Will sees another monster ahead and finds himself surrounded by 3 monsters. He starts shooting at them out of desperation, but it's futile. Nina appears behind him, shooting at one of them and killing it, then shoots the second and third, saving Will's life. He is overjoyed, and they look at the monster remains, realizing they are machines, not real creatures. Someone made them, which explains why these creatures don't sleep, eat, and only target humans because they were programmed that way. They don't know yet who created them. They walk together without fear because Nina has found a way to kill the monsters. They return to the village, and Will meets his son and hugs him. Nina raises the pirate flag as a signal to everyone that she found a way to kill the monsters. Everyone starts imitating Nina's method by putting bullets in magnesium oxide. Nina had captured a large part of the monster and studied it. A team goes out to cross the line to kill the monsters, and here we reach the end of the movie. If you liked the video, subscribe to the channel and activate the notification button so you never miss an updates. See you in the next video.